Okay, well, welcome everybody. I just want to thank all our audience tonight for joining us. This is a really important discussion on supporting the physical wellness of our children. We have a remarkable panel this evening, which will be moderated by ABC7 reporter Mike Marza. And before I turn it over to Mike, I'd like to thank our partners, Fidelis Care and ABC Disney, for all of their support of these really important dialogues that we have with our families. So Mike, why don't you take it away, and thanks again for being here.
Rachel, thanks so much. No, I appreciate it. Again, my name's Mike Marza here at Eyewitness News. Some of you, if you watch Saturday and Sunday mornings, I anchor the morning show with Michelle Charlesworth and Brittany Bell, and often on Friday evenings when Bill's taken a bit of a leave, on Friday nights at 11 p.m. with Sade. And more importantly, I think in this discussion, I'm a father of three. I have a 9-year-old son named Roman, a 7-year-old daughter named Mila, and a 4.5-year-old daughter, Natalia. And we are constantly trying to find ways to incorporate all the topics that we're going to discuss tonight. So thanks so much for allowing me to be a part of it. I'm really looking forward to it. Who is a personal trainer. You can see him there. You see the muscles through the suit, which I'm very impressed by. I love that. You want to talk about some big names, big clients that he's worked with. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're talking about Brooke Shields, Naomi Campbell, J-Lo. It's a pretty impressive group. Pretty impressive group. And then we also have registered dietitian Lindsay Zingelbaum, who is here to really dig into the components of eating well and how to get your kids moving. And so I really want to start with you, Lindsay, if you could just explain, because it was a topic that actually came up this morning as I was trying to pack the three kids' lunches today. And we're always having this conversation about a balanced diet, except that always it ends in a fight, I feel like, what the kids are going to eat, what they're interested in that day. And then when you talk about three different opinions and that sort of thing. So how do we approach getting our kids to eat a balanced diet, realizing that they are kids and they're human and they have different interests and different likes and different appetites that are constantly changing? So Lindsay, if you don't mind kicking us off, how do we begin with a balanced diet?
Of course. So I want you to always give variety. Offering variety is the best thing that you can do. Offering multiple food groups. So offering a carbohydrate, whether that be bread, pasta, rice, some protein, whether that be peanut butter, sunflower seed butter, chicken, even if that chicken is chicken nuggets, and then some fruits and vegetables. And what you say about having various opinions, as the parent, it's your job to decide what your child is going to eat. As the child, it's their job to decide, okay, I'm going to eat this. With that being said, we don't want to have any power struggles. I want you to always include a food that you know that your child likes. So offering variety, but within that, including something that you know they're going to be happy with. It's okay to offer new things too, but when you're offering the new thing, you want to just offer a little bit of something new, not to overwhelm them. As long as you offer something that your child is comfortable with, it's okay to offer other things too, to include that variety and that balance. It's another just important thing that I want to point out is every meal is not going to be balanced and very nutritious. I want you to look at like a 3-day average of what your child eats, because I think that will make everybody feel better about their child's intake.
That's such a great point, because when you try to set out with this massive goal with a spreadsheet or in trying to make it balanced every day, I think we're setting ourselves up to probably fail in that way. And before we get to Ingo, because movement is so much of a part of having healthy kids, I do want to ask, in today's world, are we still thinking about the pyramid that we knew kind of in the school where you have the different food groups within the pyramid? Or now I've heard kids talk about red light, green light foods, yellow light foods. How do we know what goes into that balance?
So I'm actually not a huge fan of the red light, green light, because I don't want children to think that any food is good or bad. So I like to refer to foods by what they are. This is a cookie, for example, versus like this is a stop food or eat a little bit of this food. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. But instead of the pyramid, which is kind of old, now there's a plate. So if you see here, my plate, when you're talking about a balanced diet, if you look, there's a website, myplate.gov. And if you look at this plate, this is a small plate, but just any regular size plate, you want half of the plate to be fruits and vegetables, a quarter of the plate to be your protein, and the other quarter of the plate to be your starch. So this plate really replaced the food guide pyramid.
Oh, that's great. I love that. It's easy. You can explain it to the kids that way. I think that they can even get in on that. I love that message. And Ingo, I want to bring you in because it's no surprise that most kids have a lot of energy, but how do we make use of that energy, and how do we know how much each kid needs? And I know that's just such a broad topic when you have different age groups and that sort of thing. But just take us through just kind of on the surface. You know, I'm a big fan of the NFL, and I know they have the Play 60 campaign, so 60 minutes a day. But what do we need to know as parents? How much should our kids be moving?
Well, thank you for throwing that question to me, Michael. I believe that a minimum amount is 30 minutes. We have to, you know, like we have ideals, but we also have to be, you know, realistic. You know, we parents have a limited amount of time. You've been working all day. A lot of parents just don't have 1 hour to spare to give the kids, but 30 minutes you can definitely do. And you can just think of it as play. You can vary the intensity of the play. If you have 30 minutes, you can get a lot in 30 minutes. You know, be it, you know, run around, you know, run over here, run back, and, you know, jump up, you know, a few times, or just take a walk for 30 minutes, or walk around the block, or just go up and down some stairs. You know, you just have to mix it up. You know, you can throw a ball and have them run, catch the ball, bring it back to you, and you throw it again, and then you throw it up. So you just have to mix it up. It's little things like having them, you know, get down on the ground, get back up, get down on the ground, get back up. You know, you kind of have them kind of push you forward, or like you act like you're, you know, a monster, and they're pushing the monster away, and you give them some resistance. So that's the way to do resistance training. And then you push them back and have them resist you pushing them back. So these are little ways, or you hold them and have them try to escape. Little things like that you may not realize, but it gets the kids' heart rate up. They're having fun. They look forward to doing it again, because what you don't want is to make it feel like they're training for the NFL combine. You know, you want to make it feel like they're just, we're just playing, we're just having a good time. Like my kids, just, you know, kind of like you, I have an 8-year-old, almost nearly 8-year-old son, and a 3.5-year-old daughter, extremely active. And all they say to me is like, can you play with us? Right. And we just run around the apartment. And I have them, you know, pull me, and I hold on to both, you know, their arms, and they try to pull me forward, and I try to push them back. And we do that. So I kind of do like an interval with them. Like, you know, they do a push, like a resistance push, and then I run around. Then we run around. So we do like resistance, and then we do mix it up with cardio. And then we come back and you catch a breath, and drink water, always stay hydrated. And then they drink some water, and then we do it again. And before you know it, it's 30 minutes. And that is sufficient for most kids. However, if you find that your child is having a hard time going to bed, you know, winding down, going to sleep at night, then you can ramp up and add another 30 minutes. But you have to do it based on each child.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe in brush strokes.
Well, those are,
you know.
No, it makes total sense. And those are great jumping off points, because I had two questions. One, I'll ask, what is the benefit of getting your kid moving, and why, you know, those 30 minutes, you mentioned something I think was key, the heart rate. That's the key, right? You want to get their heart rate up. And why is that so beneficial for them?
Well, the key to conditioning is being able to monitor and modulate your heart rate. You want to be able to get your heart rate up and have it come down safely, bring it up and have it come down. So you're burning calories And getting your heart rate up actually, that's what gets the endorphins going, the feel good, chemicals that go to your brain. That's what you want. You want the kids to feel like they accomplished something. So when their heart rate goes up, they feel like, wow, I feel great. I'm working so hard. Dad is telling me, can we do it again? So all of these things, just challenging them, making it fun where their heart rate gets up and they're like, they get a little bit out of breath and then they recover, and then they get a little bit out of breath and then they recover. That's the feedback that kids love, and adults as well. But kids for sure love the feeling of like, ooh, I did a lot of work. Ooh,
Yeah.
that was great. Let's do it again. And that's, getting the heart rate up and down is how you build your conditioning. You get their heart stronger. And it also helps your central nervous system.
And how quickly, or I guess, what is the time period of before bedtime are we talking about here? Because, I'm thinking, obviously many parents are working during the day. So is there kind of a cutoff that you want to have, a time between the end of the movement, the exercising and just playing around until you want them to go to sleep?
For me, and everyone's different. For me, my kids are high energy kids. So if I do it too close, like if I do it and then expect them to go down 10 minutes later, it will never happen. Like they'll be jumping around till an hour after, their bedtime. So what I try to do for me is I make sure that the exercise is done at least minimum 30 minutes before bedtime. So after we play and we have a great time, I get feedback from them. Did you guys have a great time? They say, yes, we had a great time. Okay, time to calm our bodies down.
Yeah.
Let's calm our bodies down. And we sit down and being a fitness person, you kind of have fitness-ish kids. So we sit down and I tell them, take a deep breath, deep breath in, deep breath out, deep breath in, deep breath out. This is something that we did in boxing between rounds. So you go out, you go hard for 3 rounds, you come back, breathing in through your nose and exhaling through your nose dramatically drops your heart rate. And that is the quickest way to recover. So if you now bring this into normal life and have kids do this where they breathe in through their nostrils and breathe out through their mouth, or if they can't do it yet, breathe in through their nose and breathe out through their mouth. Just the process and the rhythm of doing this lowers your heart rate and immediately starts to put you in a relaxed state and ready for the next stage, which is laying down and reading books and easing them up to sleep. Reading books is also another great way to calm them down, to get them to sleep.
I feel like that's something even adults need to do at the end of the day. Is just, calm down, everybody simmer down and get ready to rest. You raised a great point though, Ingo, because often kids we know model after what parents do. And I want to bring Lindsay back in because that deals with food too. And so you can't probably tell them you got to eat your vegetables and then you're never eating the vegetables. I think that's a key, and they're always looking to you. So how do you make sure that obviously you're an adult, you can eat what you want, but you're setting that good example even when you may not realize the kids are watching?
So the kids are always watching. So even if you think they're not watching and they're not listening, they are. I have a 5-year-old and almost 3-year-old. I have 2 boys, Brayden and Jackson. Modeling behavior is one of the best things you can do when it comes to your child's nutrition. I would say family meals is another big thing, which is definitely a challenge. And it's something I struggle with too as a working parent. But I would say that even if you're able to make one day a week, even if it's a weekday, a weekend, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it doesn't matter. Making time for a family meal is the best thing that you can do to model behavior. With that being said, there's obviously modeling healthy behaviors and there's modeling less healthy behaviors. But I do believe that it's important to let your child see you also enjoying those less healthy foods, because that's showing that you have a healthy relationship with food. So healthy isn't necessarily only eating like fruits and vegetables. It also is just like having a healthy relationship with food and being able to enjoy different things and not saying, I can't believe that I just ate that. That has so much sugar in it, or something like that. We never want our kids to hear something like that, because then that's not modeling the healthy behavior. So even if you eat it, you want to say, it's kind of what I was saying before, food is food. So if you're having ice cream, not, oh, I can't believe I just ate this. This is so fattening. I'm going to gain 10 pounds. I just had ice cream. What's your favorite flavor? Maybe we'll have it together next time. What kind do you want? Do you think you want toppings?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. What about when maybe the in-laws or a babysitter or somebody else is in charge of the meals, and you feel like you've got this great thing going and everybody's doing the balance and we got the plate and everything, and then they go over to grandma and grandpa's house and it's a little bit of a different situation. How do you deal with that?
So it's definitely hard in terms of the language, because you don't know who's going to say what. It's very easy for me to say, talk to them and tell them not to say this and not to say that, but that's not reality. I think it comes back to do what you can at home, and back to that average, like look at a few days at a time. And obviously we can't undo what somebody hears when they are out of the house or what somebody sees, but we can do our best to improve that and be the role models when they're home with us.
Yeah, it's always, I love the stories of, I went to, Pappy's house and you know how many cookies we had and cakes and all this stuff. And oh, it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like you had a great time. And I think you hit it on the head with a healthy relationship with food, because you want to be able to enjoy the fun things, right? And you want to be able to enjoy that stuff. I think that's key too. Ingo, I feel like we're so busy and we're all here now participating in this. Everybody has something. How do you find the time? And is it important the time of day, or is it just you try to get them moving anytime possible? Wonder if you only have maybe the mornings, the way your day stacks out, maybe you have more time in the morning. Is it just that you need to get it in at any time?
I feel you get it in at any time. The most important thing that we have to, and people don't say this enough, when you decide to have children, you have to make sacrifices. It's not about you anymore. You have to make room for your children. I know a lot, like I said, it's not may not be a popular way to talk, but we have to make room for our children. We have to do better to set the next generation up to be healthier. Even if we didn't have the luxury of having parents that ate well or exercise, when we decide to have children, when we know better, we do better. We have to do something. We have to do what we can. It doesn't matter when you exercise. Some adults say, oh, you got to exercise first thing in the morning, or you got to exercise at night, or it does not matter when you get the exercise in. Your body does not know the difference. All it knows is that stress was put on me, and now this outcome gets delivered. So that's what we need to understand. It doesn't matter when you do it. You just have to get the kids to play and have fun. That's that's how I feel.
Just thinking about today's kids, and you look around at so many different environments where kids are, maybe the park or the gym or something like that. And kids are adults too, but so addicted to these tablets, a lot of video games. And I feel like maybe back when we were kids, we would just go outside and play. And now there's so many things drawing them back inside to not move and to be in front of a screen. So how do you balance that? I know there are some games out there that you can incorporate some physical activity. I'm thinking of Just Dance. That's one, where the kids, the kids can kind of participate. But how much of a struggle is that to have the kids put down the video games and actually get moving like we used to, just go out in the street and play? I mean, at the park, not, what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but just to go outside and play. Whereas today the kids, it seems like the screen is the big draw.
Well, the screen is the big draw, so we have to become the bigger draw. So we have to have schedules. You have to put schedules in place, and you have to stick to the schedule. You have to practice the schedule. That's the only way you can do it. And you have to understand the kids are going to fight. We're going to push back, but you're the parent. Just like Lindsay said, you control what your children do. So if you want your children to exercise, you schedule in the exercise and then add the screen as a reward system. So if you do your homework, if you go out and play for 30 minutes, if you eat your vegetables, then you get to play your video game or you get to watch TV. That is how I do it with my kids. And I've given this advice to some of my friends who have kids that have asked me the same question that you asked, and using it as a reward for good behavior and exercise and doing all the good things, then they actually enjoy it more, as opposed to just being on it all day and it just doesn't add any value, but feeling like it's a reward, they enjoy it so much more.
Yeah, it's almost like a trance. Like they
Yes.
just comatose. They're in front of the screen and come in, hello, but I also think you make a great point, because once you get that routine built into them of working out or just playing actively, hopefully that's a trait that they can carry onto their adult life too. And I want to bring back in Lindsay, because I think about the generations growing up, and we know what the pandemic really highlighted, and it was an issue before, but the mental illness aspect of every age group right now is becoming a clearer focus. And I have to believe food plays a part of that. How does it, and how can we make sure that we're feeding our kids' brains as much as we are their stomachs?
So there's research connecting gut health with brain health. So with that being said, I think it's important, back to the variety and putting good things into your stomach, because that's kind of what's going to help your brain. So again, fruits and vegetables, like antioxidants. I never like to say don't eat anything. So it's not as much what are we going to avoid? Yeah, not a ton of fried foods, but occasionally, because that's reality. But what can we add to the diet more so than what can we take away? So again, adding those fruits and vegetables. The other thing when it comes to our mental health, we want to make sure that our children's blood sugar is stable. So if they're constantly snacking all day on cookies and goldfish and all their favorite snack foods, they might be satisfied for a few seconds, but then kind of hyper and wild later because they're still hungry. So having the combination of the carbohydrates with the protein or with the healthy fat is going to stabilize our blood sugar, which is the same as adults. It's really not letting your child get to that point of hangry, because that is when they start to change their behavior and possibly be hyperactive or just cranky overall and anxious. But it's really just hunger disguised.
And so there is a science to it, because we hear about it often when they're in the classroom, and if maybe if somebody can't focus, and then, I even deal with it with my own kids, we'll ask, how was your day? It's okay. And you can feel the tenseness of, Roman or Mila or Natalia. And often we'll kind of dig down deeper, and then I'll open their lunch. And the lunch is still there, and I'll say, or maybe they were having school lunch, and it comes to find out that they didn't eat the lunch. So there's a science behind actually feeding your brain so the focus and all of those levels balance out. Then, huh?
Yeah, and I would say a lot of kids, and a big problem I see with the kids that I work with is sometimes either they don't eat breakfast or their lunch period is at 10 a.m. So they're eating lunch at 10, going straight to after school sports, and they're never having that snack. So maybe they didn't eat breakfast, or they skipped lunch at school and then they're going to sports. And a lot of kids just aren't interested in having that snack before their activities, or they don't like to eat at school. There's tons of reasons why kids aren't eating while they're in school. But yeah, it's definitely a big problem.
And Ingo, when we talk about mental illness and mental health, for kids in particular, there is a correlation, it seems like, with the lack of maybe activity or movement, or at the very least, it can change the outlook or change. And you mentioned it a little bit, just how you feel after you have that heart rate jump. And so what is the science behind the physical activity tied in with what Lindsay was talking about when you're eating right and feeding your brain, but just being in the right state of mind? It seems like every time I run or I go to the gym, I do feel better.
We do feel better just moving, and then the degree and the intensity of the movement adds more endorphins that we get. So the moment that you start to move, it starts to feed your body and your blood and your brain with chemicals that make you feel good. So for children, and this is why being on devices for so long is not healthy, because they get, and the programming is designed to keep you watching.
Right.
And hours go by and they're just hypnotized by the bright lights and all the images that are coming so fast at them. And that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to keep them watching and sedentary. And you come in and hours have gone by and they're just sitting there, just blank expression, just staring at the screen. The moment that you turn the screens off, they'll fight you in that moment. But literally 5 minutes after they start moving, it all changes. They start feeling good, they start feeling strong, their posture changes. And sitting for so long does a couple of things to us. When you sit down, and this is a problem that we were having during COVID, when you sit down for a long time, your glutes start to shut down, your hamstrings start to shut down, and then back pain kicks in. Like your hamstrings or glutes are your shock absorbers when you're walking, when you're running. So when they start, when they weaken and tighten, then you start to get lower back pain. And kids can develop back pain at a young age. And having pain in your body is directly correlated to, like mental illness, depression. So just having the kids move just all around, just the endorphins just makes them feel better and they get healthier. And the healthy kids are happier kids.
No, that's so true. And what do you see from your clients and maybe some that have kids? Do they share some of the concerns that they have with you in trying to set that path forward for them, or continue something maybe that has been working, something that's going great? What are your clients telling you about what's going on out there?
Well, a lot of my clients do share the problems they're having with their kids, because we're all in the same boat, right? But because I'm in the fitness profession, my kids get to see me live this life. I show them sometimes like videos of me that I created at the gym of me working out, and they get excited and they try to mimic these exercises that I did in the gym, in the videos that they saw, and then I do them at home as well. So the parents ask me, what can we do to get our kids interested in moving more? And what I tell them is, if you're watching TV with your kids, you can, something simple as, I'm just going to do a couple of squats. I'm just going to do
while you're watching
push-ups while you're watching TV, or you can do sit-ups. Kids mimic what they see. So if they, and you have to make it fun. If they feel like you're suffering through these squats or suffering through the push-ups, they're definitely not going to want to do it. But if they see you, like, you're watching something, and you're like, all right, I'm going to do high knees for 30 seconds. And then you do it and you're like, wow, that felt great. They're naturally going to want to try that. And that is how you get them excited and get them moving, because once they see you having fun, they want to have fun. That's all they are interested in. So that's how I do it. I just lead by example and make it fun, make it look like I'm having the best time in the world. And then they want to jump in so parents can do the same thing.
Yeah, but see, when you're doing these squats in front of the TV, it looks a lot different than when somebody like maybe us out here. Like, oh, this is nothing, 51, 52. No, that's
It
a great,
doesn't, and the thing is, it doesn't have to be a lot. Just
yeah,
and a squat is sitting down and standing up. So you can
true.
sit down on the couch and stand back up. It doesn't have to be the squat you see on YouTube. Just do 10. Just do 10
Okay.
squats. 10 squats could be 10 push, 3 push-ups, whatever you do, and you make it feel like, wow, I feel stronger. I feel so much better. The kids are like, wow, if he did this and feels so much better and he is the authority, maybe I should be doing that.
Yeah. We used to, my now 4.5-year-old Natalia used to love to jump on my back, and we'd do something similar. And as the years go by, the workouts get a little harder. So that's you're stepping up with your progression. You said you have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, is that right? So
soon to be 8 and soon to be 4.
Okay. So then, what are their favorite activities? What do you guys what do they like to do as far as getting the movement?
Well, if we're at home, they just say, Dad, can you chase us? So literally, they just want they just want to run. So we just run. We create a path, and we would just run around and around. And then sometimes they want to run. They want to time how long it takes them to run from the kitchen to the living room and back. So we set a stopwatch, and my son, the Chioma, he does it. He goes there and back. And he's like, how long did that take? I'm like, oh, it took 8 seconds. And then my daughter, Amara, says, I want to do it. And she runs, and I just, I try to make it seem like, they were so close. I'm like, oh, you did it in 7 seconds. He's like, all right, I want to go even faster. So you just kind of gamify
That's cool.
the play.
Yeah.
And all they want to do is run.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's almost like you need a laser timer, because these kids are so particular. They want to know exactly, like, what was the, 7.2 seconds.
Exactly.
What was it? Lindsay, I want to bring you in, because I got to ask, as a fellow parent on here, we're all, most of us parents, and we're trying to find a better way. Your boys, what do they like to eat? Because I'm running out of menu options over here at the Marza household. I got to hear some tips on what your kids eat and what do they actually enjoy.
So when I get stuck in a rut in feeding my family, I like to do theme nights. So Wednesdays is always breakfast for dinner. So I'll start talking about that since that's today. So today we made a baked oatmeal cake, and we had it with strawberries and yogurt. I can tell you, both kids ate the oatmeal cake, one ate the yogurt, and both ate the strawberries and the oatmeal. So it was a win. Every night does not become a win. But some other themes, if you think about different themes, it makes it easier to plan your menu, right? So within the theme of breakfast for dinner, sometimes we do pancakes. Sometimes they're homemade, sometimes they're from a mix. It really varies. Sometimes we do waffles. One of my kids eats eggs, the other one dislikes eggs. I'll always offer it and see if he wants it. If he says no, I don't push it on him, since I know he really doesn't like it. So that's kind of the breakfast for dinner. Sometimes we'll do like an Italian, which will usually be pasta, taco nights. We do a lot of meatballs. We definitely also eat pizza, chicken nuggets. Don't get me wrong. My kids definitely get plenty of takeout. With that being said, but kind of like what I said before, and every meal in my house definitely isn't perfect. And every time that I serve pizza, I definitely don't serve fruits and vegetables along with it. But when I am counseling parents, I do recommend, if they are trying to make meals healthy, more healthy, that it's okay. Like if you're serving the pizza, serve a vegetable alongside with it. Sometimes let them have the chicken fingers with the French fries, but sometimes do chicken fingers with broccoli. Mm-hmm. It's not always what are we going to take away, because that can make a child feel stressed. Especially, I work with a lot of children that are picky eaters, and they may only have a few safe foods. So you don't want to really take those away from them or make them feel stressed about it, but what can we add to this meal to make it better? I know I moved a little bit away from the question of my kids, but
Now, those are good ideas. I like the theme nights. But, you know, and you mentioned safe foods. Natalia, our 4.5-year-old, she just, it's basically every night I feel like we go through a bunch of different trials, and our rule is you have to taste it at least once, to taste it and sample it, you know, if it's new, but it always ends in a peanut butter sandwich, crust off. Has to be, because if the crust is on, then we're off the rails. And I just, you know, I'm curious, the safe food aspect, is that just something that the kid is so comfortable with and they know that that is a food that is going to be okay? Or like, when you say that, what do you mean, I guess?
so for a safe food, it's a food that's accepted. With that being said, there's sometimes a food that for her, a peanut butter sandwich, that's always her favorite, that you could serve it and she's like, I don't like peanut butter sandwiches. Why are you giving this to me? But as the parent, you know that it's something she likes. So always have a familiar food, a safe food that you know your child likes and enjoys and has eaten multiple times. With that, you can serve them whatever they want, because I don't care if they don't eat everything on their plate. Serving it exposes them to it. And I don't like to pressure them, but you never know when they're going to say, okay, I'm going to eat it. And that's kind of when that family meal comes into play too, because modeling behavior, letting them see you eating it. But what I wouldn't do, I wouldn't, if she says, no, I don't want it, then make her something new, because you don't want to become a short order chef. Instead, serve it there from the beginning with what you want her to be eating, but a small portion of what you want her to be eating so she doesn't feel overwhelmed.
No, that's great. That is such great advice. And, you know, when you talk about all of these different foods, I mean, I think it's a debate in a lot of homes. Do you make them, and maybe it's an age question too, but do you make the child finish their plate? Do you not make them finish their plate? I mean, there was, again, back to the old school thinking. Hopefully we've learned a lot in the decades on a lot of different things, but I'm just curious. I mean, what is the thought? I mean, because here's a scenario that I see play out often. They say they're full. They don't want to finish the plate. And magically, in 10 minutes, now we're hungry again for a snack instead of the meal. So how do you work with that? And, you know, from a dietitian standpoint?
So my children will tell you that they have two stomachs. One is their main dish stomach, and one is their snack and dessert stomach. With that being said, as a dietitian, I will serve them their meal. And if they say my tummy is full, I say, is your tummy full? And they say my tummy is full. And I will say, okay, if your tummy is full, you don't have to eat anymore, but this is dinner and we're not having any more food tonight. If you're still hungry, if you're hungry again later, if it is a day that say we're not having a dessert and there's no food, depending on what time it is, if it's lunch and maybe we're having a snack in a few hours, I will say we're going to be having a snack soon and you can eat then. If you're hungry before then, we can have some fruit. Most kids, if they're actually hungry, they'll say yes to the fruit. If that's not what they're thinking, because they're not actually hungry and they really want the goldfish or the granola bar, then, you know, like it's kind of they call it, like some dietitians call it like the fruit test. Like, do you want fruit? No. Well, then you're not actually hungry, because if you were starving, you would eat the fruit, because I know you like, say, bananas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would offer a fruit that they actually like and that they're familiar with, or like a freeze-dried fruit, an applesauce pouch, something along those lines. But I never force anybody to finish their plate, because I think it's very important for children to learn the feelings of hunger versus fullness, because I think that if they don't, it will backfire.
Yeah, no, my wife and I have talked about it a lot, and I like that. That's really interesting, the fruit test. That's good. And then just one more on this topic. Do you advise parents to provide a dessert for most meals? I mean, most dinners?
So it's very, very child dependent. Like I can tell you, I'm dealing with this in my house right now. My 5-year-old has become completely dessert obsessed, to the point that I picked him up from a play date recently, and he was like, I didn't have ice cream yet. And I was like, we can have ice cream at home. And he took like a mini ice cream cone from the freezer and brought it home with him. So when a child becomes that like they really want dessert, I think it's better to offer it. It doesn't have to be like 3 scoops of ice cream tonight. I gave my kids like those mini cones. So just a taste of something. So it's very, very family dependent when it comes to the dessert thing, because you never want your child to feel like they have to seek something outside, right? So if you restrict the food, then they're really going to want it. I don't think you have to serve dessert every day or with every meal. And you can say tonight's dessert is strawberries, right? Like dessert really just means like after the meal. It doesn't necessarily mean like cookies and cake and ice cream. I do think it's important for children to be able to recognize how different foods make them feel. So you had said earlier, like sometimes going to the grandparents' house and eating like those 10 cookies. In some ways, there's a benefit there, right? Like you didn't have to see it, so it wasn't like as kind of stressful to watch, but maybe they learned after, like, oh, maybe my tummy hurts a little after I ate that. Maybe I don't want to eat that as much next time. The other thing is when they are able to occasionally get dessert, it takes it off of a pedestal, right? We don't want it to be something that like they're striving for and reaching for. Something that I sometimes do in my house, and I often recommend to clients too, is serve the dessert with dinner. When I say that, parents freak out and they're like, my child is only eating ice cream or candy if I serve it with their meal. But they often find that they'll have a bite of the dessert and then they'll eat dinner. Some kids, it just makes them feel more comfortable seeing it there. Other kids, if they think maybe dessert is coming and they're not sure, they won't eat because they'll save up. They want to actually have space in their stomach for the dessert. So if they see everything that's coming at once, then it's easier for them to kind of self-regulate. So it's hard to say in terms of what I recommend in terms of dessert, because it's very child dependent and dependent on kind of what the family's concerns are.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before I go back to Ingo, I wanted to hear just what are parents telling you right now? Is there a common theme that you're seeing or you're dealing with these days?
I'd say the biggest thing that I'm seeing is picky eating, and a lot of children just that want to constantly be snacking or maybe gained weight during the pandemic just from being off schedule and being home for so long and kind of struggling to get back into routine. And with the picky eating, a lot of it also stems from like in the height of the pandemic, it was hard to get groceries. So parents kind of got in a routine of serving the same things over and over and not going to restaurants and seeing what your friends are eating, and then just kind of harder to get back into different routines.
Ingo, to that point, as you think about kids, and I'm thinking more about like 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, maybe tweens and teens, really trying to get them sort of in line with the healthy limits in the range, because we do know childhood obesity is a significant issue. But I'm just thinking about, because, when I'm at the Y and I'll see a kid and I'm 40, so I'm a relatively young guy, but I see these boys in there and they look like really young, you know what I mean? And I see them lifting weights. And I'm thinking, what is a safe age for kids to begin weight training and incorporating that stuff as they're trying to get healthier overall? And again, I know it's an age thing, but when you're talking about tweens and teens, how do you handle that?
Well, it truly, for me, I would always, I always advise to allow the kids to get in their teens. It's a myth that lifting weights shrinks kids. It doesn't shrink kids, but what I see more is burnout. I would rather have kids start when they're older and they can understand what they're doing, and have them lifting weights then, as opposed to, forcing them to lift weights when they're under 10 years old or under 13. They just don't know what they're doing. But if a child maybe watches Rocky 3, a Creed 3, and he sees all the muscles and he's curious about how these guys built these muscles and got this and got so strong, and then they start wanting to lift weights, then it's okay, and have them start light. Teach them the right way to do things, not off of TikTok or or Instagram. Like, teach them. Maybe if you have someone in your network who is a fitness professional, have them talk to them or teach them, or the PE teacher, have them start lighter, with lighter weights, more repetitions, and have it be about getting stronger, not about like a scientific, you have to do this to build your pecs and you have to do, so just make it more about just overall strength.
Yeah. And what is that? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Good.
Just
No, yeah, make it about overall strength as opposed to like building specific muscle groups.
yeah, the social media component to it, it provides so many other layers that you have to really frame and focus the kids on. I mean, how much of that do you see even with your clients and their kids? I mean, they'll see something, maybe it's a new workout or exercise, even if it's not necessarily weights, but I mean, do you battle some of that? I suppose some of it can be useful too, right? And you can kind of incorporate that, but is there a real concern of spreading just wrong information out there and getting these kids potentially hurt?
Definitely. There is, a lot of people, and the thing about social media is once you get, as you know, like once you get on, be it a TikTok or Instagram, and you start scrolling, there is no filter as to what you see. And you might see, and as a child, you might see someone's physique that you think is impressive, but they're doing exercises that are so far advanced, and the kids don't understand the basics yet. And then they go and they start to jump on a ball, or they try to do a squat on a Bosu ball, which is like a half ball, or just doing squats with heavy weights, and they get injured. The key is to moderate your kids' use of screens. Like, none of my kids will get on social media until they're old enough that I feel 13, and I say that now, but who knows what is going to happen a year from now. Things are changing so much, but get involved in what they're watching. Use control, like use passwords to protect certain areas or certain programs so that they can't get to it, and just teach them the basics and keep everything light. That's what I teach my kids, and it's about just moving and having fun and getting stronger, as opposed to getting your biceps bigger or getting six-pack abs.
Yeah, that Creed movie, it is inspiring even for I only have about a minute left up with both, but Ingo, before we go, just can you hit us with your bullet points again in case somebody joined late? What do we need to know as parents to get the kids moving?
What we need to know as parents is kids will follow and mimic what we do. So lead by example. You have to start moving, and then they'll start moving. 30 minutes a day of just walking, just running around, playing with them, pushing, having them push you, just having fun. That's the key. Just have fun with the kids. That's it.
Keep that timer ready for those races
Exactly.
the siblings. Lindsay, before we go, as parents, from a dietitian point of view and a fellow parent, what do we need to know about getting the kids to eat a balanced meal and helping parents sort of set the way?
Model behavior also when it comes to your diet. Serve them what you want them to be eating, and try to eat together as a family. The more that you involve yourself and you serve the meals and you model behavior, the more that they are going to follow.
I love that. And your plate idea, making sure that they fill in the plate.
Yeah,
and
fill in your plate.
Yes, I love that. Lindsay, thank you. And Ingo, thank you for participating. It was a real joy. I took notes, literally, so I'll be bringing those home. Let the kids know that I've learned some new things, so we'll be putting those into impact, and hopefully just continue this exciting journey as parents and trying to get the kids to live healthier lives.
Absolutely. And thank you to the New York Edge for hosting this webinar, and also for helping to bridge the education gaps of New York City students through programs that not only improve academic performance, but also health equity. And for all the viewers, my name is Fred Tanteo, and I'm a community relations manager at Fidelis Care. Fidelis Care is a statewide health plan serving more than 2.6 million members across New York. So very briefly, our society has experienced many challenges across the nation in the past 3 years. And Fidelis Care is committed to addressing these social determinants that impact our health outcomes in the communities we serve. So through our trusted partnerships, such as the New York Edge, we're able to engage families like yours and raise awareness to the importance of maintaining a well-balanced body and mind. So this June, several million New Yorkers statewide will be required to renew their health insurance. Our team is working tirelessly to inform, educate, and assist everyone to ensure that their healthcare coverage is not disrupted. We're at community events, we're at doctors' offices, hospitals, and clinics, as well as our Fidelis branded locations. And we can also assist with a simple phone call. So give us a call. It's 888-343-3547, or just visit Fidelis Care. Thank you again. Everyone have a wonderful evening.